It's morphin' time. Pterodactyl.
Hi there, this is Datila with Rangers of Wrestling, bringing you the It's Wrestling Time post-show. And tonight, first, I'll be reviewing AEW Dynamite. Alright, so AEW Dynamite kicked off with the returning Jon Moxley versus Ethan Page. This was Jon Moxley's big in-return match. So I thought this was a really good match. I mean, there were times where I kind of thought maybe Ethan Page would win, but I knew that Jon Moxley ultimately would win just because it's his first match back. I don't think that they were going to make him lose at all. But I have to say, I wonder, I find it kind of funny that Ethan Page left his tag team in Impact to go join AEW and be a part of a tag team. So, I wonder where he's going to go. Oh, but of course, Jon Moxley ended up victorious. So after this match, he hit the paradigm shift to Ethan Page. And then as he was leaving, who was there to greet him is Bryan Danielson, who was clapping. They looked each other in the eye. And I cannot wait for that feud. That's going to be an amazing feud. Like the matches between them, I can only imagine. Oh, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. All right, so then we had Nick Jackson versus Tremperetta. Again, saying this was another great match. A lot of back and forth between them. I really did think Tremperetta was going to defeat Nick Jackson at one point, but no. I really did think Nick Jackson was going to defeat Tremperetta too, because it was just so much back and forth. But ultimately, Tremperetta won. Another good match. Then we had Hook versus Sophentico. Hook attacked him before the match even started, as Jericho pointed out. He got to take off his kimono and his streamers. And then this was as essentially a squash match. Then QT Marshall comes out and Hook attacks him. He attacks him, basically lays him out and then leaves. And then in the main event was the TBS Championship match. It was Anna Jay versus Jade Cargo. This was a good match. I knew it wasn't going to be a squash match, but wow, Anna Jay really held her own against Jade Cargo. It wasn't enough though. She ended up losing, but she looked great in defeat. Yeah, of course, Jade Cargo ended up retaining. Mark Sterling, of course, got involved. John Silver got involved too. He tried to stop Mark Sterling, but it wasn't enough. Jade Cargo retained. And honestly, tonight's Rampage, I know I'm jumping the gun here, but tonight's Rampage was amazing. I rated 4 out of 5. It was better than Smackdown, that's for sure. Well, that could finish the Rampage review. Next, I'm going to review Smackdown. And where do I even start with this Smackdown? Smackdown actually got off to a good start. It started out with the Bloodline segment. And it just showed a recap of Roman Reigns' Universal title reign, which he won on August 30th, 2020. Boo down. So Steve Callahan saying boo down. Oh, that's funny. So it started off with that. Then Seth Rollins came out and he interrupted Roman Reigns. And he said that he could simply text, Roman could simply text him. And he said that everything he told Roman last week, he took literal, which he basically, just to recap, said that Roman could not do things on his own and he is where he is because of he's had help. Seth Rollins name dropped Jon Moxley. Yeah, he said me and Mox. So I was surprised he mentioned that. I know it was very quick. Just the fact that he mentioned it, it's like, whoa, because I was expecting him to say maybe me and Ambrose, but no, he said me and Mox. So that was crazy. And then Roman fires back and says if Cena told Rollins to say that, which I thought was pretty hilarious. And so Seth Rollins basically challenged the Usos to a match and said that if the Usos win, the Seth Rollins will lose his title opportunity, and if Seth Rollins wins, they're banned from ringside. And then Seth Rollins' partner for the night was Kevin Owens. And I actually really liked this main event. I actually really liked the opening. Such a shame that it went down so quickly. So after this, we had Kofi Kingston versus Madcap Moss. Like I said last week, and I'm going to say it again this week, Madcap Moss is not a bad wrestler. He's actually a pretty decent wrestler, but he just can't. This gimmick of his is just not doing him any favors, and I can't figure out if his gimmick is supposed to be, I think I'm funny, but in reality I'm terrible, or if his gimmick is just supposed to be that he thinks he's funny. So still trying to figure that out. It's probably the second one. But Big E ended up showing up for this match. And you're going to notice a pattern here. Before I get into that pattern, I want to finish. Kofi Kingston actually won this match despite a distraction from Baron Corbin. So, obviously, we get Aliyah versus Nattie. Nattie gets herself DQ and Aliyah ends up winning. Aliyah, where I don't know where she's been, comes out to stare down Nattie. So I don't know where they're going with that. And at this point, I don't know. So Los Lotharios, then we had those Lotharios versus the Viking Raiders. It was a good match. Match was awful. Which match was awful? Which match? 1-1. Aliyah is now 2-0 against Natalya. Yeah, she is. It was like I was saying, this match was a good match. Of course, the Viking Raiders won. Then we had championship contenders match is Naomi versus Charlotte. Kofi versus Moss. I actually like that match. I like last week's better though. Sonya Deville got involved in this match and she became a special guest referee. I have no idea why this feud is still continuing. Hopefully it ends next week because as we saw, Eric Bischoff was backstage and him and Adam Pearce told Sonya, Adam Pearce told Sonya Deville that she's going to wrestle Naomi next week because what she did was unprofessional. So then after that, we get Sami Zayn presents InZayn. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, people. Michael 111591 says championship contenders matches need to be stopped. Definitely agree. Danny Satin said the only wrestling match I seen tonight was the AEW main event. Some truck stop. Oh wow. Okay. So yeah. So I was saying Sami Zayn presented InZayn. I actually kind of like the InZayn stuff, but of course, Sami Zayn was just trying to prove that he could be better than Johnny Knoxville. Johnny Knoxville comes out and not only does he electrocute Sami Zayn, but he throws him over the top rope. So then after this, we get Ricochet versus Sheamus. Good match, but Sheamus ended victorious. So before I talk about the main event, I want to stop right there. Because in case you guys haven't been taking notes, like I take my notes. You guys can see here are my notes. And you've been keeping track. We got, aside from the championship contenders match and the Lotharios versus Viking Invaders, we got the exact same matches from last week. The exact same freaking matches with a minor differences in outcome. Last week, we had the InZayn segment first, and then Nattie versus Aliyah, then Sheamus versus Ricochet, and then Kingston versus Madcap Moss. My God, that Sami segment was corny and awful. So, last week, Aliyah won. This week, Aliyah wins. Last week, Sheamus wins. This week, Sheamus wins again. Last week, Madcap Moss defeated Kofi Kingston. This week, Kofi Kingston defeated Madcap Moss. Last week, we had an InZayn segment. This week, we have an InZayn segment. So it was pretty much a repeat of last week. Just they switched the order of the matches around. And they only changed one of the results. So I don't know what you want me to do or say. So the main event, the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. As I said, if the Usos won, Seth Rollins lost his opportunity at the Royal Rumble. If Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins win, then the Usos would be banned from ringside. Michael 101591 says, you're right. This was a rehash of last week. They did creative took the night off, I feel. Yeah, see, you guys, I take notes, so I can tell you exactly how it went down. That's why I didn't even do a full in-depth review. Why should I? When there is the same matches as last week. Now, I actually really liked the main event. I really did. But the ending ruined it for me, and I'll tell you why. So Seth Rollins is going to do the curb stomp, I believe, on Jimmy. I think it was Jimmy. Could have been Jay. I don't recall. But yeah, I didn't write it down. But he was going to do the curb stomp. Roman Reigns comes out and attacks Seth Rollins to stop him from doing the curb stomp. But by doing that, he causes a disqualification, and Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens still end up winning the match. So I don't see where the logic in that is. Like, if you're trying to cost Seth Rollins a match, he should have attacked the Uso. Smackdown bad again. Roman can't save it. So, again, great main event. Illogical ending here. And like, if Roman is trying to prevent Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens from winning, he would have attacked the Usos. He attacked Seth Rollins, and he cost a DQ, which still allowed them to win the match. Let me see. SmackDown is just as bad as Raw, and you're right. Roman can't save it. Okay. SmackDown sometimes is a little bit better than Raw, but not this week. Like, literally, not this week. And I always try to be, like, unbiased and generous with my ratings, but I have to give SmackDown a 1. I have to give SmackDown a 1 because this was as essentially a rehash of last week. And the ending did not make any logical sense. It really did not. Not the least bit. Rampage was hands down way better than SmackDown tonight. And sometimes Rampage even falls flat. Sometimes. But at least with Rampage, I got great wrestling and storylines that made sense. SmackDown didn't give me any of it. So if I had to pick the show of the night, I'd pick Rampage over SmackDown. Steve said I like the main event. What main event? SmackDown? Michael 101 591 said SmackDown was a 1 out of 10. Yeah, definitely. 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5. And you guys know I normally give it a 2.5 or 3. On rare occasions, it's a 4. But not tonight. I cannot give this SmackDown anything higher than a 1. It started off great. And it had a great main event. But that was just illogical for me, if you ask me. And I really hope the Sonya Deville and Naomi stuff ends next week. We've seen that one too many times. So with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching this review. You guys, so your continued support means so much to me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I shall see you guys probably on Monday after Raw. Bye.